by the way, others, I think I am going to be going to Chicago this year. So for Chicago PAX.
Okay.
So if anybody wants to come and get together for an informal meeting, I guess we could do that. All right. So last month we talked about Kaunas issues, Nepriklausoma Litva, and this time it's a Vilnius issue. I thought I could combine them both together, but you know, I underestimated the how big the topic is, and it probably would have been a little too much to do them together anyway. But this is the Vilnius issue. As you recall, the Kaunas issue was printed in earlier, and Vilnius issue was July 16th. But the stamps printed were 9 stamps, with this time 2 larger stamps, and Mayakovsky stamp was not used, but the 80 kopeek was the North Pole stamp, the red one, and the Red Army stamp was the 1 ruble one, is the highest denomination. You can see the quantities printed are listed on the slide, and this is the entire set in blocks of 4. Unfortunately, Vilnius I didn't have in a square block of 4. I had like a row of 4, but that's that. The smaller stamps, smaller denominations like this one, were printed in sheets of 100, and the stamps were overprinted in Kaunas in the famous government printing establishment Spindelis. And of course, as you can see, the overprint itself is extremely simple. There are many little flaws in the overprint just because of the process being so simple and done in such a rush. In smaller stamps, nobody really, to my knowledge, have done an extensive study of evaluating all the plate flaws and stuff, which could be done if somebody is interested. But the stamps are so inexpensive and all that probably not worth it. But somebody may be curious just for the curiosity of it. I personally don't have time for it, but people are into plate studies, and certainly there could be plate flaws to be found. Where in the larger denomination stamps, plate flaws have been established to some degree. This is a small denomination. There is one surviving existing sheath of 80 kopeek, full sheath of 50 stamps. And I had an opportunity to buy it a little while ago, but it was way too expensive, and I decided to pass. But nevertheless, it gives you a good glimpse at what can be studied and what the overprints are in each position. No full sheets of 1 ruble stamp or Michel number 9 are known to exist to this day. So having said that, there are altogether 9 stamps. There are, of course, whenever there are stamps, there are always errors, and especially when it's overprint, there are many errors and varieties. And these are the 3 inverted overprint varieties that exist. No other denomination exists in inverted overprint variety. So if you see one, that's an easy detection of a forgery. But the 5 kopeek, the 20 kopeek, and the 80 kopeek stamps. Interestingly enough, the 5 kopeek stamp is, the overprint is always a little shifted, so that's an easy way. If you see the Vilnius inverted overprint on 5 kopeek stamp that is right in the middle of the stamp, chances are it's a forgery. There were 2 sheets of 50 of the 80 kopeck inverted overprint, and they are different from each other in the sense that the overprint is at a different height, but that also could be studied. Next is some other varieties of Vilnius overprint. So I kind of separate them into major varieties and minor varieties, although Michael just gives them numbers 1, 2, 3, and so forth. For Michael, a variety is a variety. To me, there are major varieties and there are plate flaws. So the major varieties, aside from the inverted overprint, I consider as following. The 5 kopeck has fantail or imperforated on the right overprint and overprinted stamp, and that stamp is actually known in Soviet Union stamps to have survived is with imperforated on the right variety, but this is imperforated on the right side variety with Vilnius overprint. 10 kopeck has double overprint with one being diagonal, as you can see there. 15 kopeck has double overprint, which is the lower left, and you can see the shift in that overprint, and there is actually a double overprint. I used the they do exist, obviously, canceled and non-canceled, but this one kind of separates it the most, in my opinion. There is also 15 kopeck has double overprint with one overprint being diagonal, just similar to the 10 kopeck stamp. There are also 2 varieties of 15 kopeck where you have a pair and one of the stamps in the pair is without an overprint, and there is a variety where one of the stamps has what's called a blind overprint, which is an imprint without a color, without ink. So you can only kind of detect that overprint, knowing that there should have been an overprint by impression on the back of the stamp that you can detect on the gum side. But I don't have pictures of them. I don't have them in my collection. These are the few things that are just purely out of Michael that I got. I presume they exist. I've never seen them. 30 kopeck has a double overprint reported. I don't have a picture of that either. And 60 kopeck has a stamp with a blank tab on the right-hand side. So those are the varieties that are known to exist in a smaller denomination. Now we go into an 80 kopeck stamp, and this is what Michael reports. And to me, the 2 major varieties are on the top and 4 minor varieties are on the bottom. The major varieties, in my opinion, are larger spacing between the letters in the overprint. As you can see on the left, top left with the arrow, there is a larger space between letters L and N. And on the right-hand side, there is a larger space between letters I and U. Interestingly enough, Michael lists them as 1 in each row, which is position 7, 17, 27, 37, and 47 in the sheet of 50. But the reality of it is that Michael lists this arrow, the spacing between I and U, as also as the same 5 stamps, 1 in each row. But the reality is that the position 9 does not have that shift, as opposed to 19, 29, 39, and 49. So the numbers of overprint, actually, the spacing between I and U theoretically could be less than the one with the other spacing, because there is 1 less error overprint, which is overlooked in Michael. Then there are smaller varieties. Again, Michael lists them just as 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and 6, and you can see them all here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And the variety number 3 is a little notch in the letter S. And in parentheses, you can see the plate position number. And this variety occurs, this plate flaw occurs in position 5 in the sheet of 50. There is a little ditzel in the letter L on the lateral side, on the left side of the letter L. That's in position 21. Little notch in letter N, which is in position 11, and a little notch in the tail of letter S, which is in position 15. To me, they're minuscule plate flaws, but I guess they could be considered as varieties. They are not very common, and they are highly priced in Michel, and a lot of people don't bother collecting every single one, but nevertheless, they're certainly collectible since they're listed in the catalog. And here is a rare triplet. This is out of collection of Dr. Daniela in Australia, and he has 3 stems joined together, and one, they're all inverted overprints. One is with the variety of larger space between L and N, and another one is in variety with the larger space between I and U. So that's a rare find. Now this, and now we go to the 1 ruble variety. 1 ruble variety, 1 ruble stem has only really 1 variety listed in Michel, and I try to show it by kind of getting the overprint out of the stamp on the top. And there is a larger space between letters I and L in that overprint. And that usually happens in the right-hand side. All the stamps along the right margin of the sheet have this little gap between I and L, which is, by the way, not mentioned in Michel, but that's what it is. And the other variety is 1 stem that is not overprinted. And that happened because, as you can see, there was a fold in the overprinting process in that sheet, and the overprint occurred on the reverse side of the stamp. And by the way, that overprint is also that space between I and L variety, because these 2 stamps are along the right border of the sheet. So this is only known in existence, a fold like this. So maybe it is the right thing to do by Michel not to list it in the listing, just because it's only 1 thing known to exist, and it was an error and not more than that. But those are the errors of overprinting. Now we go into a cancellation. These are just the cancellation marks that I have in my collection, but I'm sure there are a few more. And not all of them are from Vilnius, but of course the majority of them are. This second row, I listed the Vilnius Central over cancels, and they start with the B, D, E, K, S, and R. And at the bottom there is Vilnius 5. No, this is Vilnius 4. Another one, Vilnius 4A and B cancel. There is Vilnius 5. There is Vilnius 6 and Vilnius 10. And I'm going to ask Adrius to read this for me, because I'm going to torture that word. It's right here.
Geležinkelio, it's a railroad station.
Right.
Vilnius railroad station.
Geležinkelio
Geležinkelio stotis. Vilnius.
Okay.
Vilnius
Geležinkelio
stotis.
Right, right. Very good. Thank you. I didn't know how to correctly pronounce it. And there are other places that canceled. You remember the very first sheet that I showed, the full sheet with favor cancel, and this is from Svencionis, and that is Soviet Union cancel. This is also a Soviet Union cancel, and it's probably the same place, I presume, and it spells in Russian Svențiani. There is Paberge cancel on the Vilnius overprint stamp, and Mauricio Gala cancel. So these are the cancels that are known to me. Some of you guys may have additional cancels that are not known to me to exist on the Vilnius stamps, but I don't have that great of a variety. This is all I have in my collection. All right, and we'll move on. We'll talk a little bit about the dates also, but not on this slide. So Vilnius issue has been Vilnius had used not only Vilnius issue, but as you can see, there is a philatelic cover with Kaunas issue and canceled in Vilnius. And there are combined covers like this, clearly philatelic, with all high denomination of Vilnius and Kaunas stamp. That's a pretty nice looking cover. Certainly philatelic, but nevertheless, you can't help but admire how pretty it is. Now, Vilnius cancels. The cover on the left is a first day of issue cancel. These Vilnius stamps were officially printed and issued on July 16th. So this is the first day of issue. And this is the only Vilnius R cancel that I've ever seen used. And this cover on the right is Vilnius S cancel, and that's the second day of issue on the 17th of July. Both are unaddressed, but there is a story that goes along with the cover on the right hand. Dr. Jurgis Gimbutas, and I don't know if you guys are familiar with that fellow, but he personally went to the post office in Vilnius when he heard about these stamps being issued. He went down and bought the whole set and put them on the cover and personally made himself a souvenir. And I purchased it with the story that came along with this cover, that it was from his personal collection, and him personally canceling it by hand at the post office in Vilnius. I don't know if Antanas may know who Dr. Juris Gimbutas is. I did a little research about him, but I'm not the best person to speak about the fellow. So some more covers. These are very common covers. These are probably the most common covers with Vilnius overprint, where there is a full sheet, full set, I'm sorry, of stamps on the cover, and a lot of them are addressed to Fritz Benninger. And sometimes they're partial sets with just smaller denomination stamps. Sometimes they're full sets like this one. And these two covers in my collection are especially neat because the stamps, the set on the left-hand side, have a variety with a space between I and U, as well as space in the 1 ruble overprint varieties. And the cover on the right has a wider gap between L and N variety. So these are just nice, varieties of overprint in the large denomination stamps here. So some more covers. these are relatively common as well, and because they don't have high value, high denomination stamps on them, they're relatively affordable and relatively inexpensive, and could be counted with different cancellations on them. This is a nice philatelic cover that I really like, that I purchased a while ago. It's been in my collection for some time. And this is a local philatelic cover, and the local rate was 15 kopeek for the local postage, and 30 kopeek for registration. And this, of course, here instead of 45, you have 50 kopeek, which is 5 kopeek overfranked. And but that 5 kopeek is the inverted overprint stamp, which is kind of neat. And it comes together with the kwitancja. It's a receipt for sending a registered letter, number 776. Some more covers, overfranked, and can somebody tell me where it's going?
It's Zwickau in East Germany.
Yes, that's right.
It's I mean Saxonia.
Right. It is majority of the covers from Vilnius from that period are either local covers or addressed to Kaunas. It's unusual to find covers from Vilnius addressed anywhere else in Lithuania. They exist, but they are rare, or to be addressed to Germany or anywhere abroad. You would think that there'd be more covers to Germany, but there aren't. So this is kind of a cool item, in my opinion. And this cover on the right is appropriately franked local cover, 30 kopeek for the registration and 15 kopeek local rate. Some more of the local covers. This one, again, appropriately franked. It's a registered cover, which was canceled, Vilnius 10, on July 28th, 41, received Vilnius Central e-cancel on the 29th, the next day, and then forwarded to Vilnius 4 on the same day. And there's a receipt cancel of that on the reverse side. So quite a nice item, and non-philatelic for a change. Here are a few more appropriate usage covers. There is a domestic tariff, and there is one going to Kaunas. Kaunas, of course, has it's a 30 kopeek tariff for domestic but not local, and it's not a registered cover, so 30 kopeek it is altogether. Here are some nice philatelic varieties. The one on the left has again an inverted Vilnius overprint stamp on it, and certainly is way overfranked. And the one on the right has all varieties. That is not in my collection, and I don't know where I acquired this this scan from, but it was in my scan file, so here it is. But there is an inverted 5 kopeek stamp, there is an inverted overprint on 20 kopeek stamp, and there is an inverted Vilnius on 80 kopeek stamp. So all the 3 inverts featured on that cover. Quite a nice item. So mixed franking, but appropriate franking on a card from Tuyutene from Sviniciane, and a letter from Vilnius, local, but against mixed franking with Panevėžys stamp on it. Appropriately franked, as I said, 15 kopeek for the cover and 30 kopeek for registration. Now here is another interesting cover. This one is going from Vilnius to Kaunas with Vilnius cancel on top and Kaunas receiving cancel on the back. However, if you look a little closer, this cover has appropriate 30 kopeek domestic rate, has Vilnius CB cancel on the front, has a rare variety of Vilnius double overprint on the left stamp, which is quite uncommon to see on the cover, appropriately used, and double signed by Mikulski. However, if you look closer at the stamp, here you can see actually the shift in the overprint, and that's the double overprint stamp. The stamp on the right is just a regular overprint. But look closer at the cancels. This Vilnius C cancel has date November 20th of 1941. Of course, the end of usage of these overprinted stamp was at the end of August. So there should be no covers accepted or used in November of 1941. And the receiving cancel in Kaunas is dated November 19th, which is the day before it was mailed in 1941, which completely doesn't make sense. In addition, of course, if you think about it, why would a postal clerk put two of the same stamps on the cover, one from one sheet and another from another sheet? That doesn't make much sense, right? So you would expect if there would be two stamps, they would be of the same variety. So you can kind of tell that this cover is completely made up. But from the first glance, it looks really original and all, and looks pretty good, doesn't it? So and that brings me to the next topic in our conversation is forgeries. Forgeries of this overprint, as well as forgeries of covers of this issue, are very, very common. Partially because the overprint is so simple, and partially because covers and stamps are valuable. So that certainly creates an interest in forging them. So these are just all forgeries, just from my collection of forgeries. You know, over the years, I've accumulated quite a bunch. These are blocks of 4. All these small overprints are forgeries. There is an inverted overprint forgery. There is all kinds of Vilnius overprint forgeries on larger stamps, and this is this should bring a smile to your face, because this overprint is actually vertical as opposed to horizontal, and it's with black ink as opposed to green ink that it should be. Nevertheless, they're all different kinds. I also must say that Vilnius was this overprint can be found at the different levels on the stamp, and I actually have a slide somewhere. I think I forgot to put it in this presentation, where I have Vilnius going from the very bottom and all the way up over a series of stamps. So that's kind of neat. And here are more forgeries. These are easy to spot. These should be a no-brainers for anyone who knows anything about this Vilnius overprint, that these covers are forgeries. And not only they're forgeries, the stamps, the Soviet Union stamps are real. The Vilnius overprint is a forgery. The cover is a forgery. The cancellations marks are forgeries, and the registration mark is a forgery. So it's a complete mess. All forgery, both left and right. And see how the right, they tried to make up the cover that in 1938 was printed in Lithuania for the souvenir sheet. Remember those? So they tried to mimic that cover, only it's of a smaller size compared to the large covers for the souvenir sheets. And of course, here is your Vilnius black overprint, vertical as opposed to horizontal. So this is a no-brainer type of forgery. But other forgeries are much more difficult to understand, and some of them are signed by reputable BPP expertisers, like this one. That's an old forgery with mixed frankings on the card. And this is also a forgery, appropriately franked, minded. And this is stamped as forgery, Lithuanian Philatelic Society. Here is a mixed franking forgery sent from Kaunas to Aliutis, and this is a receiving mark on the back. And here are more forgeries. This is going from Vilnius to Kaunas, and at some point, if you see a lot of them, you start recognizing the specific handwritings. Like these two handwritings are well known to me, at least, to be on exclusively on forged covers and stamps. So it's it just you know, experience helps you with that. And of course, this is a mixed franking of Soviet Union stamp, Vilnius overprint stamp, and Alsejai overprint. And Vilnius overprint is actually a good stamp, but Alsejai is a fake overprint, and the whole cover is a fake. And now to the fun stuff. Now this is a cover with Vilnius over, and there's actually, I've seen several of them in existence. I have one in my collection. But the reason it's a fun cover is because it's a Soviet cover. It went out in 1948, well beyond World War II, and it was accepted for mail somehow, and actually went through the mail, and has a receiving mark on the back. So that's kind of fun, in my opinion. Somebody was having good time with this. And this is probably my personal favorite cover with Vilnius overprint stamp on it, local cover with large 1 ruble stamp on French mini leather, or ladies leather if you want. And I have seen a couple of these over the years, but so this is not unique, but it's certainly relatively scarce. And this is it. And this is my summer. This is my son, David, in Israel. He actually got a bronze in judo at the Maccabi game. And this is my daughter. A few weeks ago, she started medical school in our hometown in Scranton, Pennsylvania. And she's a first-year medical student now. And that's my family. That's my wife, and all of us. So thank you.
Thank you, Vitaly. Lovely family. Great,
Thank you.
Great presentation. Thank you so much. So open for discussion. Any questions, any comments? Anyone wants to share anything?
That's very unusual that this group has no questions.
I know. So before everybody warms up or thinks what to say, I just, while listening to you, I went through my, super poor collection of covers. And of course, I recognize some of the handwritings that you already showed. Basically, 2 of these, basically Vilnius Geležinkelio Stotis, H, both the same one. This was kind of, don't know. Basically, it's a philatelic creation. Everything is put there.
Yep.
In the corner, in the handwriting says the date is 43. Was it 7/7/17? And it says guaranteed. I don't know whose signature is that. Never seen. Seen this.
I've seen these before. This is actually a perfectly good philatelic cover. It's not a forgery. It's not made. It's made up for philatelic purposes, but it's a real.
Exactly. There is no address, nothing at all. But I'm just kind of showing as a kind of interesting thing, because somebody would say guaranteed. So I don't know. It was one of the collectors. It's like JK, or it's kind of hard to see whose signature is that.
And it
and
has an inverted Vilnius overprint on it, right?
yes,
On
yes,
80
yeah,
on North Pole
exactly,
stamp.
yes, yes,
There could only be 100 of them, you know. There are
right,
2 sheets inverted.
right,
So that's pretty
yes, and
nice.
then yeah, some another kind of cover, clearly philatelic. You know,
Yeah.
somebody put it one of the local. It's addressed to orphanage.
Hmm.
15 francs, and I think that's it. There's one more kind of philatelic question. So you know, I can't really be
Yeah.
bragging about anything. It's nothing special. Just to kind of
It's very nice. It's very nice.
you kind of excited me to go and pull out those few things, and apparently they were in different places. So anyway, anyone
That
else?
well, uh, the full sheet, the full sets or partial sets on the philatelic covers are quite common, as you said. But the one to the orphanage, you know, appropriately franked with 15 kopeek for a local cover is actually very, very nice. I like that a lot.
Yes, I agree. You know, we definitely have large disproportion of philatelic, covers in probably everybody's collection, more or less.
Right, because philatelic covers are the only one that survived through the war and through the post-war period when you know, when Soviets were not looking kindly on.
I mean, even these ones, I think it's a definite. Look how well they're spaced, right? You know, it looks like
Yeah.
somebody made an effort
Yes.
to display the
Yes.
stamp. So I would, you know, I would, you know, see
The
of these as a, or let's say, you know, using a pairs of those ones as well.
Right. The beauty of it is that they're appropriately franked. Most of these covers that you're going to see, the philatelic covers, are way over franked just to show the full set
Right.
and all. These are actually, whoever that person is that you just showed the covers, and I have one, and he actually knew what he was doing, and he probably was mailing them for good purposes, but he was obviously a stamp collector. And the fact that they survived, he was probably mailing them to stamp collectors as well.
Probably. Yes, you're right.
So for you, Vitaly, it seems to be easy to find out what is a forgery and what is real. I think for people who are new on this stuff, this will be hard to.
It is very hard. As a matter of fact, it's not easy for me either. So I may make it look easy, but it really isn't. Some of them are pretty tough, especially the stamps are so inexpensive for most part. You can make up covers, and then the cancels, some of the cancels were actually available after the war, so they were not destroyed, and also there were in private hands. So theoretically, some of the cancels, you can easily tell the forged cancel if there's a forged cancel, because I have a collection of cancellations specifically for these purposes to see how the cancels should look like and how they were used over time. So the breaks and cancels and stuff like that. But, you know, if you have a really nice cover and the cancel is extremely used in proportionate to the time, you may say, boy, maybe it was done after the fact, long time after, when it was in private hands. But it's not always easy, by no means.
Okay, thanks for cleaning this up. So it sounded so easy that okay, I will never get this.
It is also important to, and that strengthens the fact that it's important to authenticate these, because there are so many forgeries, and some of the forgeries are so well made, and many of them actually have, you know, signatures of older expertisers. As good as appropriate, you know, covers and good stamps and all, every so many years, I think all these items need to be re-expertized. Just because we learn more, our ways of detecting stuff change over time, and our technologies change.
Right. If you remember Tobias Hullmann's presentation about sophistication of making some forgeries, that was probably a year and a half ago, when he gave, the paper preparation and fixing paper defects, adding perforations, by using, kind of fibers of the paper. So if somebody really wants to put a time and effort into, expensive stamps, they can easily do it, and it's quite difficult to identify and track. For anyone with like a basic knowledge, even if you kind of seen, maybe many of those, but you can still be fooled on some details. So, the advantage that Vitaly has is he's not only has that, large collection that you could compare against it, but, he's constantly and actively studying, which is a thing which is terrific for us.
Well, the other thing you have to remember, a lot of older experts oftentimes don't have a good eyesight. They don't use the tools that we use nowadays, such as microscopes, UV lights, and things of that nature. And I remember sending items to Krishki many years ago where they were just laughable forgeries, and they would come back with certificates and all, just because he couldn't see all too well. And it just happens. So you got to be very, very careful.
Yeah, so basically what you're saying, that expertizing is still quite subjective.
Quite.
Process. However, with the better techniques and better knowledge and accumulated knowledge, that keeps improving. All right, any other questions? In the same time, I want to welcome Stefano. You join us.
Yes. Another bit late as usual. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you. I missed the first few seconds of your when you tried to join. We're recording this video, so it will be on YouTube, so you will be able to catch up and see the beginning of the presentation.
I want to add something you just mentioned a minute ago, the presentation by Tobias Hullmann, and you have no idea how useful that presentation has been, because with my new job, by remembering what he said about detecting fibers using magnifier glass, or using, in my case, I use high definition scanning. It has been quite easy to find the fault instance which otherwise appeared regularly. So it has been really useful to improve my knowledge and make my capability of well, not to understand exactly what happened, but to understand that not 100%, the stamp was probably not 100% genuine.
Sure.
So again, thanks to Tobias for that.
I should talk to Tobias, because he really never joins our Zoom meetings. I understand he has 3 little kids and all that, but come on. I gotta give him a hard time.
I don't know, maybe time is not good for him, but you're right. If he works busy all week, in that case, time with the family could be more valuable than seeing a couple of old geezers here.
Well, still a good reason to give him a hard time.
Sure.
So he's a busy man. He's managing director of a big auction house. Yeah.
Right. It used to be that we would chat with him. He would, we would just text each other back and forth. It never before happened that it would take more than a few minutes for him to answer, and now he may answer the next day, and that's a huge difference. And I noticed that it kind of, that managing director role came at the same time that his twins were born, and so I think that was an added stressor in his life. But yeah, I presume he is very, very busy.
So when talking about other people, maybe you haven't heard about it, that Witold Fugalevich has passed away some weeks ago.
Yes.
I actually just saw it the other day on your site.
Yeah.
Yeah, Martin sent me an email about it.
Yeah.
I posted on the Lithuanian Philatelic forum pages, kind of, brief translation of just a few things. Yes, that's very sad. You will be remembered.
He left a huge legacy behind. So if you know anything about Lithuanian Philatelic, you know him. By the way, Andres, where is that forum? Like our LPS site forums are dead.
I mean, I've been struggling with stamps, been cleaning, and it's collecting.lt. It's collecting.lt/forumus. It is kind of much more developed. We started several years earlier. We have a number of people that probably not good speaking English, so they would kind of hesitate, posting anything online. But if you go to collecting.lt/forumus, it's a kind of Lithuanian version of forum. In that case, if you have a problem to register. But I think when I build this this site, this forum site, I kind of try to use bilingual headlines for categories and so on. So it's relatively easy to navigate. However, when somebody is writing, very often they do not stick to a proper grammar. In that case, Google may not be able to pick up a perfect translation, but there's a wealth of useful information over there. There's some, if you register, you will see attachments and should be any problem.
I know I have registered on that site maybe 5 or 8 years ago or something like that, but I really never go on it. I found it difficult to navigate with non-Lithuanian speaking.
No, exactly. So this was before I started the Lithuanian.com. The information was kind of scattered in different places, and Richardas Vainora, he's contributing constantly about modern stamp issues. So you will find there all the new issues kind of listed, at least mentioning that, okay, there's a new issues coming up. He's also traveling around creating first day covers. In that case, he also says, okay, this post office has some new postmark. This one doesn't have. This one is about to close. The other one closed. So there's quite useful information. The problem is I don't know how to deal with this, being Lithuanian language. Some topics could be potentially translated. I don't know. But the problem is that I notice it's hard for people to go and post in English. So I made an effort to give them a platform to speak, whatever they're comfortable.
No, that's terrific. That's great. Unable to speak Lithuanian is my problem. It's not not their problem that I chose that area of collecting. But how come Ricardas never joins our Zoom meetings? You should tell him.
He did. I think he was there. He was there last time. He was there last time. He never switches on his video, and sometimes has some kind of weird handle instead of his name, so maybe you don't recognize. But I recognized him last few times.
Maybe.
And doesn't speak English, so I think he's we can probably converse in Russian and maybe German. I don't know. I'm just guessing.
I emailed him in English. His written English is decent, I thought.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe you use the translator or something. So at least, yeah, that's good. That's good. Yeah. So I attempted to do the same one on this forum, which is connected to LithuanianPhilatelic.com English version. There was some kind of traction at the beginning. There are some topics that were kind of a little bit covered. Dr. Daniela kind of contributed a couple of answers there and there, but that was kind of early days, and it kind of slowly basically dying out. Anyway, but the fact is that we can at least meet monthly or bi-monthly if we come monthly. That keeps kind of us informed about the major developments. Anyway, so any other updates, news? Anybody wants to share anything? Share, tell.
I do want to. Can you see this?
Yes, that's good. Very good.
This is what I mentioned before, the different levels of overprint. Some of them are low, some of them are mid stamp, and some of them are high. But it just shows you that the quality assurance process was not very high standard. So one of the first things that I do when I receive a stamp for expertizing, I line it up with other stamps that are known to be authentic, and I overlay with the Photoshop program in a high definition. I overlay one overprint over the other, and here you see how I line them up to do the comparison. And some of these stamps are the inverts with the gaps, so they're quite nice and relatively rare. Let me see
if you find some additional ones you can show next time, just to kind of as a side, as an addendum to.
Yeah, maybe just because there were questions about expertizing and evaluating that. Maybe next time I'll show a little more about what we do, kind of what I do when it comes to
That's all right. Okay. No problem.
I can't pull it up now.
All right. So unless there are some other topic we need to discuss or announce anything, I could call officially this meeting over. Hope to see you in September. Have a good and safe summer, whatever is left of the summer.
Well, thank you for listening.